refers to cheaply designed clothes that is copied from the lately catwalked styles and then get really pumped quickly through the stores and then maximize the current trend. And we found several statistics from the website. It said the average American throws out about 82 pounds of textiles per year, and that the emitted toxic greenhouse gas methane also is one of the critical triggers to the global warming. And also Australians buy an average of 27 kilograms of new textiles each year, and they discard around 24 to landfills.
Yeah, and also they found the fashion industry that they contribute to global warming and global emissions more than even planes do, and that a lot of these clothes that are thrown away, less than 1% are actually recycled, and that even talking for places like Goodwill, like the Salvation Army, or even if you upcycle at home, that accounts for that 1% out of the 10.6 million tons that are thrown away each year. And also, they found that extending the lifespan of your clothes by at least 3 months can reduce your carbon footprint by 5 to 15%. Okay, so basically, like Tina mentioned, actually, let me ask this first. Have any of you ever been to like a store like Forever 21, Charlotte Russe, or anything, and they've had like a flash sale where you get a shirt for like $4 or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did that shirt like last as long as clothes you paid a good amount of money for?
No, they never last as long.
Yeah,
Well, one of the reasons for that is because built-in/planned obsolescence, which is basically these companies put an artificial lifespan on these clothes, so then you have to come back and buy even more. So you'll have your skirt you get from Forever 21, it's like $4 and it's cute, right? Well,
Yeah.
basically, the clothes you realize will probably start to snag at the hem, or the strings will come undone, or you'll sit a certain way, the zipper will like bust. They do this so then you have to come back and buy more of those clothes, and that's why like brands like Fashion Nova, they'll have a whole page of clothes one day, and then you'll come back the next and they'll have a whole new line of clothes in the next, because they're producing them overseas where they give these people low wages and they're in bad conditions, and they produce these clothes for cheap, just like Tina said, to mimic it. So then you have documentaries like The True Cost, which tell you where your clothes are coming from, how you're getting them, because nobody ever acknowledges how they're getting here. Click on the link. So this is just like a short.
Well, I'm young enough that I've kind of grown up in a world of fast fashion, and some of the major brands and outlets have been a part of the way I buy clothing since I was a little kid, and I never really stopped to think about where the clothes came from, or where they went after they were with me, or at all who was making them and how those people's lives were affected. And I'll never forget picking up the New York Times the day after the factory collapse in Rana Plaza, and seeing this image of this huge wall of missing person signs and these two boys walking by it, and reading this article about how in our modern world these people were making clothing for major Western brands that I knew and frequented all the time, and that were being crushed and burned alive, and that it wasn't the only incident, and that it was one of many, and there was this whole story. So I think when I got into the subject, I didn't come from the background of fashion or design or any of those things. I just came into it and said, this is insane. Like, this is a crazy part of our world, and it's horrifying that I have never heard of it. Like, how did I live this long in my life without even considering something as basic as where my clothes came from? And for me,
So that basically until what the whole movie is about is like discovering like where your clothes are coming from, who's even making your clothes, because like does anybody in the room actually know like who's making their clothes or where they came from, aside from the tag that says made in China or something? Not really. So basically they've also found that the amount of times your clothing is worn like has gone down 36%, so people are wearing their items like less and less. And
So we found two eco-friendly fashion brands. The first one is the Patagonia. So one of their sustainable clothing lines called Recreation. So basically they divert waste from the landfills without sacrificing the clothing qualities. And even the accessory of the garments, such as the labels, the buttons, and the zippers are also made from recycled materials. And they believe that they want to use as many recycled materials and textiles as possible, 100% recycled wool and 100% recycled polyester. And the other brand is Nike. So one of Nike's sustainable product lines called Nike Grind. So they take 3 different materials from the old and wasted shoes, the rubber from the outsole, the foam from the midsole, and the fabric from the upper sole, and they ground those wasted materials into granules, and then they reconstitute it into the new products. And they believe to turn limited resources into limitless potential. So what's the difference between our ideas and the usual disposal method? So based on our interviews with faculty and students, so they usually sort their clothes into piles seasonally or once a year, and they usually donate into thrift stores and charities. But what is their second life? What are the wasted clothes' second life? So a lot of people have the misconception that most of their wasted and donated clothes are going to turn to someone else's closet. However, most of them are going to the landfills. And globally, 80% of the discarded textiles are doomed for the landfill for incineration, but only 20% are actually reused and recycled.
And so this is kind of where we present our idea, which is EcoStitch. And the whole point of this idea is that, of course, no one wants to wear the same blue shirt every day because we're trying to save the planet, because that's not the case. For sure, I don't want to do that. But it's still instilling the idea of creativity, community, and economic, as well as business development and within the fashion industry. So the idea basically is we would go into landfills or even places like Goodwill, because they claim that they ship their clothes to third world countries, but there's often cases where those countries don't want to accept the clothes that are just being thrown on them, because they'd also just end up in the trash. So basically what we would do is there's this machine, you put the old fabric or whatever, whether it's snagged or anything, in this ionic solution, which is usually salt, because sodium chloride has a higher temperature to burn it at, or to heat up at. And basically it creates cellulose out of the clothes, and that often works with cotton and natural fabrics. And then you put it through that, and it goes in a dope spinner. And then you cut it up, and basically you put it in a machine similar to a 3D printer, and it is a substitute for filament, and it comes out as its natural fiber strands, and then it's rewoven into the fabric that it once was before. And so the machine costs, they have an actual machine by Forn, which is a German company, which would cost a lot more is a factory use, which would mass produce those. But it's similar to a 3D printer. Now this is a large scale one, but as far as a prototype, if we're gonna start at a local level, they have 3D printers that are $700 and tinier. And you would start with this, and the cost for this one is about $2,500, and you would go through the same process. But the question is, how would this deter the environmental impact? And basically, this would use a lot of energy, but not as much as burning the clothes, which a lot of that goes through in the factory. And also, you have other substitutes for the electricity, such as solar panels and other environmentally friendly methods.
So we want to provide services for our customers to let them know that recycling clothes are easy and convenient for them. So basically, we'll just place the clothing recycling bags to their house if they subscribe to our website or our emails, and then we will collect them on a regular collection days.
And also with the shipping methods, the biggest way that I found, because of course you're probably you want to help the planet, but you need plastic and other things in order to ship this stuff. One of the biggest ways that you can do that is one, instilling a return method, having things that they can give to you instead of giving a cardboard box or plastic every time they want to ship. So you can even have things like bins, community bins that they could put the clothes in, or even simple eco-friendly bags. And then we would have days that we would come pick it up, almost like a laundry service. And then eventually, once this would get bigger, and in the future, you would actually have small facilities where people come actually drop these clothes off to further reduce the footprint.
So the potential partners that we want to operate with, the first one is the Joann's Fabric. So from their website, it shows that it is a really family-friendly company, and also they provide services like customizing your own fabric. So therefore, we can act as a media or a middleman for the customers to create their own clothing from the recycled waste and being eco-friendly. And the second potential partner is the Mood Fabric. and it is a more high-end fashion fabric. It has a lot of designer fabrics too. However, I found out that they also really support sustainable fabric and fibers, and they also have some low impact on the dyeing method.
Yeah, and also with these two companies, I mean, as someone who makes clothes myself, like, you have the brands that, like Nike and stuff, they're recycling from their own supply. So it's easier for them versus someone who's at home, like, if you wanna also reduce your footprint, how else are you able to do that? You're using fabrics from these stores. So partnering from them, you're also able to receive fabric from their line of recycled fabrics, which would also reduce that within their stores.